What is going on, everybody? This is Liam Murphy, aka at Chess Liam on Twitter. And today I'm going to be making a video about how I won 2 best ball tournaments for $300,000. Really excited to make this video today and break this all down for everybody. Just wanted to start with introducing myself for those who don't know me or maybe just stumbling upon my channel. I originally came onto the scene when I won Underdog Fantasies Best Ball Tournament, the Best Ball Mania 2 for $1,001,001 last year, having won that really large field GPP best ball tournament. I fired quite heavily at the high stakes best ball tournaments this year, mainly on Draftkings.com, and ended up winning their 555 for 250K and their 2K for 50K. So today's video is going to be breaking down those wins and sharing some info with all of you guys. Before I start, if you could smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, you're not going to miss what I have to say in the upcoming off season here. If you're into fantasy football, if you're into best ball, make sure you check this out. I do streams all summer long. Going to be firing up streams soon here for Underdog's big board, and going to get some poker vlogs out this summer when I travel to the WSOP. Did quite well last year, and so excited to jump into those streets as well. So with that being said, let's jump into sharing my screen. So first thing I wanted to do is show you guys my entry fees. Now, DraftKings, for those who play best ball, know that DraftKings is not a friendly site as far as the draft UI, the draft interface, or really getting info about your drafts at all. So what I do know is in the 555, which was a tournament of about 2,000 people, I did 48 entries. So that would be $26,640. I ended up winning the tournament, first place, for 250K. So that would be a profit of $223,000. Their 2K tournament was a tournament of 72 people. You could only do max of 2, and I ended up maxing 2, so 4K in. I got first in that as well for 50K, so I profited 45K there for a total profit of $269,000. Now, that's not my total profit because I also had some quarterfinal teams. I had some semifinal teams that made the playoffs and got knocked out. But again, it's really hard to do the accounting on here. As long as well, I played on drafters.com. I played on Underdog Fantasy. I played on FFPC. So I got some money back on those ones as well. But honestly, it's negligible in the end of it. So that would be my entry fees, and my total profit was about $270,000. So absolutely unreal. Like if I take a second and just, appreciate where I came from. I mean, I max entered BBM2 for 150 entries, ended up winning that tournament for $1 million. Since then, I launched my channel in June and cannot thank you guys enough for those who supported me. Up over 1,000 subscribers and hoping to just, take off from here. My goal this summer, I think, is to try to get around 5,000 subscribers and, just keep on churning out the best content I can. I try to have on a lot of high profile guests, such as I ended up having on Pat Carrane a bunch this summer, and Pat Carrane ends up winning Best Ball Mania 3 for $2 million. I had on Dan Zach a bunch. He's the WSOP Player of the Year, and he also a best ball fiend. So, and I have on other people in the high stakes best ball community, which frankly, not many other people can give you the type of content that I am doing, where they are, most people are just not firing the action I'm firing at best ball and unable to stream it to the community. So Real quick, wanted to show you my team. Um, I'm mostly going to be focusing on the 555 team. That's the one that won me 250K. And however, the really cool thing is the 2K team that I streamed is I actually ended up streaming that in the past summer. So I'm going to link that video either down in the comments or down in the description here for you to check out. But I believe that makes me the first person ever to stream a winning best ball team. So you're going to be able to watch that video, see exactly my thoughts as I'm doing the draft, which is just really cool. I believe I'm also the first person to have won not one, not two, but 3 best ball tournaments. So absolutely unreal. Um, and before I jump into the team, I guess I should say that, winning the tournaments, obviously, you got to get lucky, right? Like, I do think I'm a very skilled player. And, I had my detractors when I won Best Ball Mania 2. Oh, what do you know? You just got lucky. You won a large field GPP. Well, really tough scene for those people when I end up winning not one, but 2 more best ball tournaments the next year. Yes, they are higher stakes buy-in tournaments, being that they're 555 and 2120 to buy into these tournaments. However, that kind of makes them a more skilled tournament because just like those who follow poker, for example, there's the WSOP main event. That's a tournament that gets around 10,000 or more people in it. Poker professionals do not often win that tournament just because there's so many people, because poker, just like best ball, is a game of skill. However, there's also luck involved, or as what we could call variance. Your players can get injured, what have you there. So in the end, the skilled players will come out on top. And me winning 3 tournaments does not mean I'm the best ball player in the world. Obviously, I think I'm one of the top players, and my results prove that, but just wanted to touch on that. So let's take a look first at my 555 team. And I'll show you some screenshots of how many points it scored in the finals and what my competition had as well. So my 555 team that ended up winning was a Pat Mahomes with Saquon Barkley and Brees Hall, who got hurt. Had Michael Gallup, it had Deontay Johnson, it had Amari Cooper, had Travis Kelce for the stack with Mahomes, had DJ Moore, had Jamison Williams, who ended up doing nothing, had Kareem Hunt, who was frankly a disappointing pick, had Christian Kirk, great pick, had Tyler Boyd, Jahan Dotson, great pick for me that ended up mattering a lot in the end. Khalil Herbert, who, was an advancement piece. You have to advance in tournaments and you have to do well in them. Trey McBride, who did nothing for me all year until week 17, where all the money is won, and is the reason I won the tournament. Had David Njoku, so I did a 3 tight end team with Kelce. Had Zay Jones, had McKinnon for the stack with Mahomes as well. Had Geno Smith, just a naked Geno Smith. I believe all the other quarterbacks were selected. And with me selecting Mahomes high, I waited on a quarterback. And then Jaylen Warren, who is a player who ended up mattering for me week 17. He gave me points. I would have won even without his points. But he also was not high owned. So he was one of those low owned players. And again, there's no way of telling when I drafted these players on Draftkings, but here's my best guess, just by looking at it and remembering the ADPs is I went Kelce in the first, I went Saquon Barkley in the second, I went DJ Moore in the third, who was pretty disappointing all year, but ended up coming through big week 16 and 17. Mahomes in the fourth, Deontay Johnson, who was pretty irrelevant all year. Brees Hall, smash pick in the sixth. Brees Hall is a guy I had a lot of in the 555. And obviously he helped me advance, but then he tore his ACL. That's part of life. Amari Cooper ended up being a big piece for me week 17. Christian Kirk, great piece all year. Kareem Hunt, really useless pick. Tyler Boyd, didn't do much. Michael Gallup, honestly, didn't do much. Jahan Dotson, again, rookie who came in big down the stretch. David Njoku, who was a really solid tight end to select with Kelce, just, one of the highest paid tight ends, has a high ceiling. Didn't end up mattering too much for me. Jameson Williams is a gamble I took who didn't really end up mattering for me in the end. He just, didn't play that much with his torn ACL. So took a couple gambles of players with injuries such as Michael Gallup and Jameson Williams coming off ACLs. So maybe that's something I'll do differently in the future. Khalil Herbert, a great midseason piece, didn't end up mattering down the stretch. Jerick McKinnon, MVP of the team. He ended up mattering huge for me in the playoffs and week 17. Just having that Mahomes, McKinnon, and Kelsey stack. Zay Jones, smash pick. Jaylen Warren, again, a player I came on as depth charts were released in August. So I'm someone who drafts throughout the summer. And he was just not drafted in the beginning of the offseason because people didn't know, was it Jaylen Warren? Was it Benny Snell? Jaylen Warren was just not on people's radars. Geno Smith ended up being a great pick for a bunch of my DK teams. He was actually on my 2K team as well that won. Really just a smash pick. And, honestly, that was not something that I was not drafting Geno in the beginning of the summer, but once it became clear that Geno was going to be the starter, I figured, okay, time to take him, and all the other quarterbacks were gone. So just like the principle of waiting on quarterback when you have an elite one. And then Trey McBride. A lot of people would not do 3 tight ends when they have Kelsey, but to me, the Cardinals played the Falcons week 17, one of the best defenses to play. And I'm someone who just straight up does not care about advancing my team. I'm trying to win the tournaments. I know there's a lot of people who feel differently about that. They feel it's, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. Just get as many shots on goal as you can. I disagree. I'm someone who, I want to advance as many teams as I can. However, I take big stands on players. Sometimes I'm wrong, all the time. And I'm someone who really cares about the Week 17 matchups. And Trey McBride, who did nothing all year, is the reason I won the tournament, where he came through with 20 DK points in Week 17, scoring with David Blau at quarterback. Not how I thought it was going to happen, but hey, it came through. And I thought Trey McBride, just even though he was a rookie tight end, Zach Ertz was getting older. The Cardinals had shown that they use the tight end position a lot. So I just like McBride's chances to be a really solid pick if Zach Ertz got hurt, or really even if not. This is the 2K team. So the 2K team, and this kind of comes down to contest selection. I know a lot of people on Twitter and whatnot were disappointed in their results for best ball, but all they played was the huge field lottery. So this was like the $5 Draftkings tournament with $1 million to first, or Best Ball Mania 3, which was about 460,000 people, $2 million to first. And when you're playing such huge tournaments, it's just hard to realize a positive ROI, even if in principle you are a really strong player. So like, even if you are expected to have a good ROI, it's just hard to realize the profit unless you place high in the contest, because that's just the nature of tournaments. However, if you play smaller field tournaments, higher buy-ins, it's easier to realize a profit if you're a good player. Because, for example, this contest only had 72 people. The final only had 3 people, as opposed to Best Ball Mania 3, which was in like the 460 people range. So, it's just easier to win these tournaments. And so I think a lot of people out there should think, let's say you have $250 to invest. Would you like to do 10 Best Ball Mania 4s or 1 Big Dog for $250? Or if you have $500, do you want to do 1 555 or 20 Best Ball Manias? Now, I think you have to decide what you care about. Do you do this for entertainment? Because if so, you want more teams. You want the sweat throughout the season. It's a long season. It's a fun sweat. It's something to pop on when you're watching football. If you're trying to realize a monetary win, though, you're probably better off doing the bigger tournaments if you're a good player, smaller fields. The win in the 250K, I ended up actually, this screenshot was taken before I the Monday night game, before the Sunday night game, which grew my lead from 153 up to 159. So I had a 6-point lead on second, comfortably in first. Now, of course, I don't want to touch on it too long, but what happened Monday Night Football is Damar Hamlin got into cardiac arrest. He had to be resuscitated on the field. I was maybe going to be passed by some of the teams out of screenshot here. I did have Tyler Boyd on the Bengals still to play. I think it was unlikely I was going to be passed. And at worst, I think I was going to get second, but it was possible that could have happened. So let's close down those teams there. I ended up having, of the 48 teams, I had 9 teams in the playoffs. So that would be an 18.75% advance rate. Expected advance rate was 2 out of 12. So that's 16.77. So I was a little bit more positive advance rate in the 555. Now, typically, the higher the buy-in entry, the more I do care about advancing. But even so, if the whole field is just trying to advance and I'm focusing on trying to win the tournament and doing different things, well, that's advantage to me because, you could have done up to 57 entries. I did not max the tournament. And part of the reason I did not max the tournament is there was overlay. Now, overlay occurs when a tournament does not fill and they guarantee the prize pool. So in the 555, I think there ended up being, 10 or 20 wildcard spots, which basically, if the tournament doesn't fill, they start awarding third place teams that scored the most points in the playoffs. I didn't get any wildcard team, so that didn't end up helping me at all. However, maybe it did help me because I'm facing worse teams in the playoffs than first and second place teams, which scored more points. If we assume that the more points you score, the better team you have, which is and isn't true. This team almost didn't advance out of the quarterfinals. My 555 team, it ended up scoring 216 points in the quarterfinals, and it beat out a team that scored 211. So the advance rates in the 555 to reach the finals was 1 out of 6 advance to the semis, and then 1 out of 5. Don't quote me on that. It might have been reversed there. It might have been 1 out of 5, then 1 out of 6. So it was either or, but you had to finish 1 out of 6 and then 1 out of 5. And then there was an 11-person final in the 555. So in the semifinals, after scoring a huge performance, I barely advanced in the semis. So just barely made it. And I made it with a pretty low score, something like the 150s, which I had 3 other semifinal teams in the 555. And in those groups, I would not have advanced. So I maybe advanced the lowest scoring final team, which obviously that's just lucky. That's just variance. However, the more teams you have, the more likely you're going to be lucky in those rounds. And you arguably want to be one of the lower scoring teams in the semifinals because that means that if you make the finals and you have a healthy roster, you probably have unique players compared to the rest of the field. The players that really advanced me that round was Saquon in the semis, if people remember. If you want to check out me breaking down these teams and the groups they were in the semifinals and whatnot, I posted videos back on the channel about that, so be sure to check it out. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for this video and how I won $300,000 for a profit of $269,000 in best ball this year, winning 2 best ball fantasy football tournaments. Just absolutely unreal to sun run like this again. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. I like to answer them. Again, I will be streaming a ton of best ball content this summer. I doubt you'll be able to find anyone with the results I have. And I used to be a teacher, so I really do try to help people out. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It would mean a lot. And have a great rest of your day. Peace, guys.